So let's start from where we left yesterday. So we were talking about income input tax credit. So in the last class, what we discussed was the limited list of input tax credit. Now we will discuss some special cases when and where the input tax credit can be availed. So the first case is, and as I discussed in the last class, today will be the last class for GST. So please be keep asking any questions which you have regarding GST, because GST will end today. If there are any questions related to GST, you can ask today itself. After that, we will start the Customs Act. So I will not be able to answer the questions of GST in the future classes. Please keep asking any question related to GST which comes in your mind. So the first special case which we are discussing about input tax credit, the new registrations, when they apply, they can take credit on the stock. So just think of a situation. I apply GST registration today with effect from, say for example, I got the registration today, that is 18th November 2023. Now, I might be a person running the business from last 2-3 months, last 1 year, 2 year, whatever, but I did not take registration till now. Why? Because my turnover was less than 20 lakh or 40 lakh as per the exemption limit in GST. So I did not apply for GST when the business was started. Instead, I applied for GST registration today when I think for any purpose, maybe my turnover is exceeding 20 lakh or 40 lakh now. So I'm applying for GST registration, or maybe some other reason, or maybe voluntarily I'm applying for GST registration. So when I'm applying, I must be having some stock with me. Now, since I'm having a stock with me, I definitely did not pay any tax on my sales till now. Neither I've taken any input of purchases till now, because I was not having GST registration. Without GST registration, how can I take input or output? So today, when I'm applying for new registration, the GST law has a clear provision that I can take input tax credit on the stock, that is the purchases which I have made in the past. So I can take credit of that stock today itself by filing a form ITC 03. So for all the stock, I can take input today. So that is a provision regarding this. So as I just told, if you apply for new registration today and you have a stock with you, but you did not take credit because you were not having GST registration, you can take credit of that stock also by filing a new form, which is ITC03. You can file that form and you can take credit of that also. But the conditions of taking input tax credit must be satisfied. And what are the conditions? The conditions. One of the conditions would be it should not be in the negative list of ITC. You should not, which is in the negative list. And yes, what are the conditions? You should have a tax invoice. You should have goods or services received in your business, the GST deposited by cash or ITC by the other supplier. The supplier has filed GST returns. These conditions, and you have paid within 180 days. These conditions must be satisfied to take the input tax credit. Satisfied, you can definitely take the input by filing that new form, new register. Same cases for composition to regular. So in composition, I told in the last few classes that if you are opting for composition scheme, you need not take any input or output. You need not calculate anything. You simply have to pay 1% on your sales. Now, suppose you are going to the regular scheme, which is simple input output scheme. Then you are not having input on the previous stock. What will you do? You will simply take input of the stock which is lying with you. Maybe you are having a 5 lakh rupees stock. You must be having bills of that. You must be having the goods received. Your supplier must have shown that bill into your GST return. You can take input by filing another form, which is ITC04. So you can take input of your old stock, though you did not take input when you were in composition. But now since you are coming into regular and you have a stock, you can take input. And you can also take input of capital goods also. That is fixed assets. If you have purchased any machinery or something, you can take input of that when you are coming to regular scheme. Same case is about exempt to taxable. Your goods were exempt earlier, now it's taxable. You can take credit of stock because now you will sell it for the full tax. So you have to take credit on the old stock or capital goods as well. Now, what is the order of utilization? You have taken the input. You are having input of CGST, SGST, IGST. Now, where can you utilize? Can you utilize SGST against CGST? No. Can you utilize IGST against CGST? Yes. But what is the order of utilization? Because CGST can be utilized against IGST as well as CGST. So which one to be applied first? CGST or IGST? So that is a question which will be answered here. So the order is simple. Now we will talk about the order one by one. First, we will talk about CGST. So if you have an input of CGST, you can utilize this input out of three. See, there are three taxes: CGST, SGST, and IGST. We are talking about CGST now. So if you have a CGST input, you can utilize it against CGST and IGST. You cannot utilize it against SGST. And I told you the logic as well. Modi ji will not allow his input to be utilized against state input because these accounts are different. But IGST and CGST both are same account, central government. So they can be set off against each other. But what is the order? First, CGST must be utilized against CGST because it's a personal account and IGST is a common account. So common funds will be used later on. First, the personal funds will be used. So input CGST will be utilized against output CGST first and then output IGST. It can never be utilized against SGST. Now let us take an example. I have formed one example for you. So input tax credit of CGST is, for example, 6 lakh. So we have a input of 6 lakh in CGST and we have an output of CGST 2 lakh, IGST 3 lakh and SGST 2 lakh. Now where will it be utilized? So first we will utilize this 6 lakh against CGST output. So 6 lakh input, you can see here this 6 lakh input. 6 lakh input will be first utilized to set off CGST output. So out of 6 lakh, 2 lakh will be utilized for CGST output first. Then it will go to IGST output, that is IGST to CGST input. So 3 lakh will be reduced for IGST output. It cannot be set off for SGST output. So final balance input credit of CGST will be balance having 1 lakh, 0, 0 because all are utilized and set off. But output CGST is still remaining, that must be paid in cash. So 2 lakh will be output CGST remaining. So balance credit carry forward is 1 lakh and output tax payable in cash is 2 lakh for SGST. So I told you in the last class, when set off is done and still the balance is remaining in input, it will be carried forward. If set off is done but balance is still remaining to be set off, it will be payable in cash. So this is the example for both the things. I hope it's clear to you all. Now let us stick to the next slide. Second, if we have input in SGST, how will it be utilized? First, it will be utilized against output SGST and then output IGST. It cannot be utilized against CGST output because SGST and CGST have a enemy situation. They cannot be set off with each other. So input tax credit of SGST, suppose in the same example it is 6 lakh. First it will be set off for output SGST, that is 2 lakh. Then it will be set off against output IGST, that is 3 lakh. And then output CGST will remain payable 2 lakh. So at the end, balance credit carried forward is 1 lakh and output CGST to be paid in cash is 2 lakh. So this is the order of utilization. Now if we have an input in IGST, first it will be utilized against output of IGST. Same account, same set off first. Then since it's collected by central government, so central government says first set off our account. So then it will be set off against CGST output and then finally it will be set off against SGST output because IGST is a common tax. It can be set off with everyone. So it will be set off with first IGST, then CGST, then SGST. So you can see here, first 3 lakh we have set off with IGST. Then 2 lakh we have set off with CGST. Then 1 lakh we set off with SGST. And finally, no input carried forward. Output payable is 1 lakh in cash. So I hope this is clear to you all. is please make how practically GST do give some examples in daily life. So I'll do one thing at the end when this class would be over, the theoretical sessions would be over. I'll show you one practical written filing. So one written I'll file in front of you on the screen and I'll show you that practical example. If the time permits, if you all are there, I'll show you that practical thing in the screen. I have some GST returns to be filed today, so I will show you that example. So for this practical, I'll give you that practical experience also, that how this GST system works. Let's understand the next thing, input tax. So GST cancellation, in the case of GST cancellation, so I told you one thing just before in the last slide. If you are taking new registration, if you are going from composition to regular, if you are going from exempt to taxable, you can take credit on stock. Now, these special cases also applies on the reversal, on the reverse way. When you are taking new registration, you can take credit on stock. But when you are cancelling your registration, you have to reverse credit on the stock. When you are going from composition to regular, you can take credit on stock. But when you are going regular to composition, you have to reverse credit on the stock. Because if you are going to exempt to taxable, you can take credit on stock. But when you are going taxable to exempt, you have to reverse credit on the stock. Why? The same logic. When you are applying new registration, when you are going to regular, when you are going to taxable, you must be having some stock. For example, you have a stock of 100 rupees. Will you be paying 18 rupees GST on that when you sell it? Yes, you have to pay, but there is no input available for that stock because that is an old stock. No input available with that. For that, government has given that special provision. Okay, you are selling some goods, but you cannot be burdened with entire 18% because 18% is not your tax. It is a tax in the chain. The manufacturer must have paid some tax, then the distributor must have paid some tax, then the wholesaler must have paid some tax, and then the retailer must have paid tax. So you have to take input of previous tax paid. You cannot be forced to pay the entire tax. So that's why the input tax credit provision is made, that if you are having some stock but you are not able to take credit, file a new form, file a different special form and take credit. Similarly, if you are cancelling your registration, you are going to regular to composition, you are going to taxable to exempt, you cannot simply enjoy the input because you took the input. You took the input and you are cancelling the registration. You cannot do that. You have to reverse that input. You took the input, that you did not sell the goods, you just took the input, you did not sell goods, you did not pay the output. You have to reverse input. You cannot enjoy. Neither you will be forced to pay false tax, nor you will be allowed to take false input, because the things which you have not sold, you cannot take input. It is not your purchase at all. It is just a stock. On the stock, you cannot take input and just enjoy it. It reverse that input. So that is what the special provision. GST cancellation, regular to composition, taxable to exempt. You have to pay GST on the stock or even on the capital goods. Now, manner of reversal. How to actually reverse it? Simple. You have to reverse the proportionate. For example, you purchased 1000 units for 1 lakh. You took input of 18,000. Now only 10% stock is with you, that is 100 units. For 100 units, you have to reverse not entire 18,000, but 1800 only, proportionately, as per the number of units in your stock. In capital goods, you must have purchased some machinery, but you used machinery for 1 year and now cancelling the registration. You have to reverse 80% of the input, because every input there is a provision that every capital goods, every machinery have a life cycle of 5 years. You have to reverse on a pro rata basis. Suppose you have used for Suppose you have used for 1 year only, you have to reverse for 4 years. So there is someone asking that I need to explain in Hindi. So again, I'll explain in the last, because all attendees are there and some maybe there must be somebody who did not understand Hindi. So if I have just one question to everyone, out of all the students here, is there anyone who do not understand Hindi? If so, then I'll continue explaining in English, and at the end of the class, whatever topic you want me to explain in Hindi, I'll explain. Okay? If there is no attendee who can, if all attendees can understand Hindi, I'll take my remaining class in Hindi. So I'm just waiting for 5 minutes. Till that I'm continuing in English. So anyone who do not understand Hindi, please message. I repeat, or I'll do one thing. Let me take it back. I'll explain whatever you want in Hindi at the end only, because there are few attendees who will be taking my recording class. So maybe someone would not be understanding Hindi. So in that case, they would be having difficulties. So whatever topic you want me to explain in Hindi, I'll explain after 6 o'clock. So you can be here in the class. You can type what topic you want me to explain in Hindi. I'll explain. Okay. I hope I'm clear. Whatever topic you want me to explain in Hindi, please type in the chat box and ask Hindi. I'll do that. I'll continue in English only. No worries. I'll explain only in English, but at the end of the class after 6 p.m. I'll explain in Hindi, whoever wants. So just write what topic you want me to explain in Hindi, and I'll explain at the end. So that is also again a query for me. I'll explain. Now, so for the capital goods, GST law has assumed 5. For example, there is a machinery of 1 lakh rupees. You used it for 1 year. Now you are cancelling your registration. You took input of entire 18,000. You cannot. You have to use at least for 5 years. So what do you need to do? You have to reverse you can take input only of 1/5, because there is a 5-year life cycle, and you have to reverse 4/5 input. That is, if I talk about 18,000, 80% you have to reverse. So that would be around, say example is 20,000. So you have on 18,000, 80% you have to reverse. As simple as that. So on a pro rata basis, you have to reverse for capital goods. If you do not have invoices, you have to reverse market value multiplied by tax rate. In some cases, you might say, sir, we don't have stock invoices. It's a 5-year-old stock. It's a 6-year-old stock. We do not have invoices. No issues. Just calculate the market value multiplied by tax rate, say 12%, and reverse it. Simple. Must be certified by CA or CMA that this much is the reversal. So that is the case that you have to do. I hope this topic is clear. I'll move forward. Now, next input tax credit is over. The next topic is payment of taxes. So there are 3 registers basically: electronic liability register, electronic cash register, and electronic credit register. So there are 3 types of registers by which this entire GST payment system operates. So I'll explain first about electronic liability register. So what electronic liability register is: whatever returns we file that liability accumulates into electronic liability register. For example, you file in the return that I have sold goods of 10 lakh and I have collected GST of 1,80,000. That 1,80,000 is your liability to pay to the government. This 1,80,000 will go to the liability register. Similarly, you might have uh, done some RCM supplies, reverse charge mechanism. So there is a system in GST where you need to pay some tax on expense also. See, we are paying tax only on sale and we are taking input on expense or purchase. In some cases, you have to pay tax on purchase also. What are the cases? That's a different topic, but there are few cases where you need to pay. You always need to pay tax of output and take input of purchases. But in some cases, you have to pay tax on purchase also. So that cases are known as reverse charge because that's a reverse thing. Normally we are paying tax on sales and taking input of purchase. But in reverse charge cases, you have to pay tax on purchase also. So that tax of purchases of reverse charge mechanism, RCM, also goes to electronic liability register. In same way, first output tax goes into the electronic liability register. So there is a register on the website which is maintained by website on your behalf that contains these entries. When you file the returns, that liability goes to electronic liability register. So you have what liability goes to electronic liability register? Tax, interest, late fees, TDS, whatever TDS is payable. Yes, because there are provisions of TDS and TCS in GST also. There are some special provisions, so that's not of much concern for you, but you just need to understand TDS and TCS is also payable in GST. RCM I just explained. Tax and interest due to mismatches, because you might have done some errors in GST returns. Whatever error you do, there must be some interest or tax payable. So for these errors, that tax also goes to electronic liability register. Tax and interest due to any proceedings by the board. Tax and interest due to any proceedings by department. Department can also raise demand. Oh, you did not pay this tax, just pay it. So what they will do, they will put that amount into your electronic liability register. Then you have to pay it. Electronic liability register that is maintained by website on your behalf in your login. Credit register, the second register. So I just told for all the inputs, for all the purchases, you can take input. So that input, where will it go? Electronic credit register. So input tax credit of goods or services used for business as you claim in GST returns, that will go to your electronic credit register. In the RCM, input tax credit is available. That means you have to pay tax on purchases, but you can take input. So both are things are goes hand in hand. So in this case, ITC of RCM paid is also goes to electronic credit register. ITC as per ISD return. So there is a special provision in GST for ISD, input service distributor. So input service distributor return is filed by input service distributor. That input also comes in ITC, that is in electronic credit register. What is ISD is a separate topic. If you really want to know what is ISD, I can try to explain at the end of the class. ITC of special case 1 new registration. You remember we just talked about new registration. You can take input of the stock lying in your on the date of registration. That input you can take by filing ITC 04 or 03. That input also goes to electronic credit register. Special case 2, composition to regular, and special case 3 also. I think that is missing. So these all goes to electronic credit register. Now electronic cash ledger. Whatever amount taxpayer deposits, whatever amount you deposit through your bank account, that goes to electronic cash ledger. So electronic liability register contains liability. Electronic credit register contains credits. So output, input. This will be set off with this. If there is anything remaining after output and input set off, again set off rule will apply as per the order of utilization. IGST with IGST, then CGST, then SGST, CGST with CGST, SGST with SGST, then IGST. So these rules will be applied in set off. So output and input will be set off with each other. That is electronic liability register and electronic credit register will set off with each other. And then the remaining amount, if any, payable due to the liability is high, you have to pay through electronic cash ledger. That is the third one. Amount deposited by taxpayer. So it's not that you directly deposit GST. Whatever you deposit, that goes into that third register, which is electronic cash ledger. And then you set off by way of filing return, that is 3B. GSTR 3B is used to file to set off these three ledgers with each other. So that is the way this GST works. If you want to deposit more than 10,000, you have to deposit by electronic means only. Electronic means NEFT, RTGS, and net banking. Returns. So this is our last topic for today that we are going to talk. So there are so many returns in GST. These returns I'll explain one by one. So there is first return, GSTR1. So what is this? This is outward supplies of goods or services. Whatever you have done in way of sales, whatever sales you have done, you have to give details of bill wise. Each and every bill has to be reported in GSTR1. So you have to file it monthly or quarterly as per your turnover. You can see if your turnover is more than 1.5 crore, you have to file monthly return. If your turnover is less than 5 crore, you can file quarterly return. So if it's a monthly return, the due date is 11th of every month. If it's a quarterly return, the due date is 13th of the month after the end of quarter. Similarly, there is a second return, GSTR 2A. This is not a return actually. This is a read-only document. This is just an informative thing which is available on the GST portal. So what you need, what is it contains? It contains the GSTR1 filed by your sellers, your suppliers. Suppose you have sold to Mr. X. You have sold something to Mr. X. Where will you file that bill? In GSTR1. So you will file that bill of Mr. X in GSTR1. Now Mr. X will log in his GST portal and will see that the bill filed by you is showing there. Now where will it show? It will show in GSTR 2A. What is GSTR 2A? This is a monthly read-only document for the recipient to verify the details uploaded by the seller in GSTR1. So whatever is filed in GSTR1, it filters as per the person wise. So you file for all your sales, but each and every of your recipient, each and every of your customer can log in his GST portal and can see that bill filed by you. Okay, I have purchased from this person. So that will show in GSTR 2A. So GSTR 2A shows purchase for anybody. It was a sale for somebody. Now it is a purchase for anybody. So all the customers can see the GSTR1 filed by their suppliers in their GSTR 2A. I hope this is clear. So in GSTR 2B, so let me take what is 2B. 2B is also same. It is also containing monthly read-only documents for the recipient. That is again as uploaded in the GSTR 1. But what is the difference? What is the difference in 2A and 2B? Because due date of filing, due date of checking that return is also 14. What is the difference in 2A and 2B? These both contain same things. But what it contains? That contains is the difference of period. See, uh, if I file return of October, take an example, think for that example. If I file return for October, which return? GSTR 1. So I'm filing my GSTR 1 for October, but I entered one invoice which was of September, not of October. In October return, I uploaded 10 invoices. Out of 10, 9 invoices were of October itself. One invoice is of November. Invoices of September. So there are 9 invoices of October, 1 invoice is of September. This 9 invoice, or rather these 10 invoices, these will show in GSTR 2B, because GSTR 2B is as it is copy of GSTR 1. It does not differentiate between periods, days, anything. It simply copies and pastes your all GSTR 1 invoices in 2B. But 2A is a filtered data. 2A shows only current month return, current month bills. That means 9 invoices will be shown in GSTR 2A and 1 invoice will be shown in GSTR 2A of September, because GSTR 2A is a filtered data. GSTR 2B is a as it is data. So if I filed invoice of September in October, that invoice will show in 2A of September, but 2B will show the whole data. September, October, November, whatever bills I filed, that will be shown in 2B, because 2B is simply copying and pasting. But 2A is filtered data. Whatever invoice you file, it will go into the respective month. It will show in that respective month. So you can, what facility GST department is providing, that you can check inputs. What inputs have accrued in this month, in 2B, but whatever inputs have accrued for this month in 2A. So for this month you can check in 2A, in this month you can check in 2B. Okay, I hope that is clear to you. Now GSTR 3B, this return is what is required to file to set off electronic liability with input and with cash. So this is quarterly for below 1.5 crore. This is monthly for above 1.5 crore. The dates are 20 for monthly cases. Okay, I think there is some mismatch. And correct it, because otherwise you all will be confused. So for the monthly cases, 20th is the date, and for the quarterly cases, 22nd or 24th is the case. There was some misprint in the information, but I have just corrected it. Now these are for regular taxpayers. I told you there are two types of taxpayers in GST, regular and composition. So in composition, the return is GSTR 4. So that is the annual return for taxpayers registered under composition scheme, they just need to file annual return. Yes, they have to pay that tax on a quarterly basis, but the tax payment is different and return is different. So the tax payment has to be done on a quarterly basis. There is another form for that, CMP08, that they need to file on a quarterly basis, and on the annual basis they have to file this return. So this will contain all the things, purchase and sales both. More returns are there that are not of much use, for not of very vast use, because only few taxpayers are covered. 90% taxpayers are under this only. 90% taxpayers file these returns only. Remaining file these returns also. So what are these returns? So I'm just quickly going through what all these returns are. One is for registered non-resident taxpayer. If you are a non-resident taxpayer, you need to file GSTR 5. If you are an input service distributor, I told you input service distributor IST, GSTR 6 is the return. If you are a tax deductor, that is, you are a TDS deductor, you need to file GSTR 7. So then another return is GSTR 8, which is filed by e-commerce operator. These Flipkart, Amazon, these Swiggy, Zomato, these all they file GSTR 8 every month, 10th of the next month. Then there is GSTR 9. Yes, this is one more return which is required to be filed by normal people. So what is that? Annual return for everybody, but so this return is registered person, every person other than these all special person, these non-resident tax directors, tax collector, casual taxable, non-resident. Apart from these people, the normal people which we just talked in the previous screen, they must file this return every year by 31st of December. So this is also an annual return which contains all the information, what all outputs you have taken, what all inputs you have taken, every single thing. And then again the special returns, 9B annual return for e-commerce operators, 9C annual return for the people whose turnover is more than 2 crore. So this is one more return for normal taxpayers but above 2 crore. Then GST 10 is a final return. Every person whose registration is cancelled or surrenders, they have to file this return after within 3 months of the date of cancellation. This is also very important return when you have cancelled your registration. Then GSTR 11, those who are having unique identification number. I told you UIN holders, that is UNO, United Nations Organization representatives, foreign embassies, they are having UIN numbers. They must file this return every month. So these are the returns in GST. So this is all about GST. The GST is over as per the syllabus. GST is unlimited. It's infinite. We cannot read it in few classes. It's a it's a like ongoing process. If you would be surprised to know that there are more than 1,000 amendments. There are more than 1,000 circular and notification issued by GST department in 7 years. We cannot read it all. It's just a glimpse of required things because you are doing certificate of accounting technicians. As an accounting technician, this much is required. You will be sufficiently working as an accounting technician once you know these much things. More than this, you can become a chartered accountant, you can become a cost and management accountant because that much required for those people, not for you. That's why this much is only covered into GST. Now, let me take up the queries. So the class is over from my side. Those who want to leave, those who don't want to know about Hindi or something, they can leave the class. Now I'll take the queries. One query in book GST are to be not mentioned. Yes, in your book it's not mentioned because it's an updated information. The book is obsolete. The book does not have, the book contains GST Act 2, GST Act 3. These are removed from GST Act. If you read the GST Act current updated, GST Act 2 is deleted. GST Act 3 is deleted. Now, if you go by book, these are wrong information. This is the right information which I have updated from my side. So that would be applicable in your case because I discussed this matter with the officials in CMA chapter. They told me that the book is the final thing for classes, for exams, but any information which is updated or amended and not in book, that I have to teach you. So I am teaching you that. Yes, I'll take the previous queries. So one thing which someone asked, that practical GST. So I'll just show you the practical GST and Hindi may explain. So please tell me which topic I need to explain in Hindi because I cannot explain everything in Hindi. I can explain one or two topic, whatever you want me to explain. So whoever wants me to explain something in Hindi, please tell me again what topic you want me to explain in Hindi. Till that, I'm going to show you my screen what practically GSTR works. So be with me for next 2 minutes. I'll just show you. All can see my screen. I'm going to show you how GST works. Just a brief thing. I'll just file one return practically in front of you all so that you will all understand. I can take, there's one query that we should take one class in Hindi. So better for other students also. Okay, I don't have any issue, but for that, after the course gets ended, we can do that. Because the primary thing is we cannot waste any class. Every class is important and required for each and every person to attend. So I cannot spare any class in between. After the whole course gets ended, anyone please remember, please get me that again, ask me again that I need to take a class of Hindi in GST. I'll take that. I don't have any issue. Let me tell you, we are running very ahead of the schedule. This GST was to be ended. It was required 3 more classes. I ended 3 classes before. So like we have 3 extra classes with us that we will use at the end. But I cannot spare any class in between, so I'll take one class in Hindi again. GST utilization chart. So because I cannot see the names actually, there are no names here. I think some privacy you have opted, that there are no names showing. So someone is asking GST utilization chart. Please tell me, I need to explain in Hindi or English. If you want me to GST utilization chart in Hindi, I'll explain. So for that, let me just file one return. Password everyone has for GST, every single taxpayer. I've just logged into for that. So this is one typical GST portal. This is the return dashboard. So you can see here, this is how things work. So today I'm going to file the return of October only. So I just searched it. GSTR 1 is already filed. As you know, the date of filing, due date of filing return is 11 or 13. So that is already filed. Now you can see here the 3B due date is 20th 11, that is after 2 days. But I'm going to file it today. There are two options, prepare online, offline. I'm going to file it online. So now these are the figures that we need to fill. Outward supplies, tax on outward supplies and reverse charge inward supplies. So I've clicked on this one. This is the output. So 6 crore 71 lakh 74,000. And this is the IGST on this 639, then 32 lakh 21,000. This is the central tax. This is the state tax. This is the inward supply liable to reverse charge. I talked about RCM. So this is the RCM 33 lakh 3 lakh 3 lakh. So I've just confirmed it. Okay. So this I have already filled the figures from the figures available in my accounts. Then I'm just filing the return. Now few more things to be reported, which I've already reported. Now this is input tax credit. In this case, these are the input tax credit which we have taken. So this is the input tax credit of inward supplies, RCM input, is to be paid in output as well as the input is also available. So I've taken the input, then I've taken the other inputs. See, you can see all those things, ISD, import of service, import of goods, inward supplies liable to reverse, and all other ITC. So this ITC I have filled here. So this is the IGST input, this is the CGST input, and this is the SGST input. I have taken this input, then there was some reversal of input tax credit, so I have reversed it here and I have confirmed it. So this return I have prepared. Now I'll save it, save request received, then save request processed successfully, proceed to payment. Processed successfully. What is the issue? There is some error. Okay, I think there is some error. I'll show you, I'll tell you that later on, because some error is there in the GST portal. Okay. So GST utilization chart you want me to explain in Hindi. Okay. So 1 minute I'll take for that. Okay. So I'll just explain this in Hindi also. See, बहुत सिंपल सा फंडा है कि CGST, SGST, IGST 3 तरह के टैक्सेस होते हैं. IGST कॉमन टैक्स होता है जो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट और स्टेट गवर्नमेंट दोनों का कॉमन अकाउंट है. तो इनके सेट ऑफ के लिए एक रूल बनाया हुआ है, एक ऑर्डर बनाया हुआ है. क्या ऑर्डर है कि CGST का इनपुट पहले CGST के एक तरह से CGST की परचेजेस पहले CGST की सेल से सेट ऑफ होगी, फिर IGST से सेट ऑफ होगी. GST की इनपुट पहले SGST के आउटपुट से सेट ऑफ होगी, फिर IGST से सेट ऑफ होगी. और सेम IGST की इनपुट पहले IGST से होगी, फिर CGST से होगी, फिर SGST से होगी. एग्जैक्टली एग्जाम्पल देखिए, अपन देखें तो एग्जाम्पल क्या है. 6 लाख रुपए की इनपुट पड़ी है CGST की, तो SGST में तो कुछ होगा ही नहीं. आपको SGST कैश में पे करना पड़ेगा. क्यों करना पड़ेगा? क्योंकि 2 लाख रुपए का SGST आपकी इनपुट CGST की है और आउटपुट SGST का है. दोनों आपस में सेट ऑफ हो ही नहीं सकते. तो एक चीज तो बिल्कुल क्लियर है कि SGST को कैश में पे करना है, क्योंकि मेरे पास में SGST की इनपुट नहीं है. क्योंकि आउटपुट को सेट ऑफ करने के 2 ही तरीके हैं, इनपुट और कैश. आउटपुट SGST है, उसको कैश में पे करना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि मेरे पास इनपुट सिर्फ CGST की है और CGST SGST का 36 का आंकड़ा है. अब 36 का आंकड़ा तो आपस में कुछ नहीं होगा इनका, ये आपस में लड़ते रहेंगे, सेट ऑफ नहीं होंगे. तो SGST कैश में पे करना है 2 लाख, ये बिल्कुल क्लियर होना चाहिए. अब बच गया CGST और IGST, ये दोनों सेट ऑफ हो जाएंगे. ठीक है, 1 सेकेंड. GST और CGST का तो 36 का आंकड़ा है, तो चुपचाप SGST कैश में पे कर दो, मैटर खत्म. अब बचता है IGST और CGST. अब समस्या ये है पहले कौन. अब यहाँ पे क्या एक्चुअली समस्या आई नहीं अपने को. क्यों नहीं आई? क्योंकि अपने पास CGST की इनपुट कितनी पड़ी है? 6 लाख. अब आप चाहे पहले CGST को सेट ऑफ कर लो, चाहे IGST से. चाकू खरबूजे पे डाल लो, चाहे खरबूजे को चाकू पे डाल लो, कटेगा खरबूजे. सिंपल. तो फंडा क्या है, अगर आपके पास 6 लाख की इनपुट है और CGST और IGST 5 लाख है टोटल मिला के, दोनों सेटअप हो जाएंगे, पे नहीं करना, इनपुट मिल जाएगी 0 ये बिल्कुल क्लियर होना चाहिए. प्रॉब्लम कहाँ आती है? प्रॉब्लम तब आएगी कि अगर इनपुट मेरे पास 3 लाख का होता, इनपुट मेरे पास 3 लाख का होता और किसका होता, सीजीएसटी का। अब दोनों लड़ते आपस में, सीजीएसटी और आईजीएसटी बोलते पहले मुझे दो पहले मुझे दो, तो कौन सेट ऑफ होगा, रूल है सीजीएसटी पहले सीजीएसटी से सेट ऑफ होगा, पहले घर का काम होगा बाद में बाहर वाले का होगा भाई। और एसजीएसटी से तो 36 का आंकड़ा है, उसका तो काम होगा ही नहीं, तो पहले सीजीएसटी से सीजीएसटी सेट ऑफ होगा, फिर आईजीएसटी सेट ऑफ होगा। और ये वाली एग्जांपल यहाँ प्रूव हो रही है थर्ड वाले एग्जांपल में। आप ये देख सकते हो कि आईजीएसटी बेचारा क्या है, वो सबका भाई है, इसकी किसी से लड़ाई नहीं है, तो ये सबसे सेट ऑफ हो सकता है। अब समस्या आ गई, टोटल आउटपुट कितना, टोटल आउटपुट है 3 और 2 5 और 2 7 लाख रुपए का, और इनपुट कितना 6 लाख, तो 1 लाख का पेमेंट होगा ही होगा। अब लड़ाई हो गई, तीनों के तीनों बोल रहे हैं 1 लाख तू दे 1 लाख तू दे 1 लाख तू दे, तो क्या होगा, 1 लाख रुपए एसजीएसटी को पे करने पड़ेंगे। क्यों, क्योंकि ऑर्डर दिया हुआ है। क्या ऑर्डर है, आईजीएसटी पहले घर वाले को काम करेगा, घर वाला कौन है आईजीएसटी का, आईजीएसटी। तो पहले 6 लाख में से 3 लाख किसके कटेंगे, आईजीएसटी के, आईजीएसटी फ्री हो गया, घर चला गया, सो गया। अब फिर आईजीएसटी किसके पास जाएगा, अपने पिताजी के पास, पहले तो भाई के पास गया, आईजीएसटी आईजीएसटी भाई भाई खत्म। आईजीएसटी का बाप कौन है, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट, क्योंकि आईजीएसटी अकाउंट इज मेंटेन्ड बाय सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट, तो वो पहले किसका काम करेगा, अपने पिताजी का। तो वो किसके पास गया, वो गया 2 लाख रुपए सीजीएसटी के पास, तो आईजीएसटी बोलता है ले भाई तू भी 2 लाख ले, तेरा भी काम खत्म खत्म, सीजीएसटी भी घर जाके सो गया। अब आईजीएसटी के पास फिर 1 लाख बच गया, चलो भाई अब पड़ोसी को भी दे देते हैं, तो आईजीएसटी गया पड़ोसी के पास, ले भाई तू भी 1 लाख ले ले, अब 1 लाख तो भाई तेरे को देना ही पड़ेगा, तो एसजीएसटी को फाइनली 1 लाख देना पड़ा। ठीक है, आई होप दिस इज क्लियर। अभी कोई डाउट है अगर तो प्लीज टेल मी, आई विल एक्सप्लेन। Next class we will start Customs Act. I hope मेरा हिंदी का explanation you understood well. हाँ जी, हिंदी वाले भाई साहब आपको समझ में आ गया? Did you understand well in Hindi? Okay, thank you everyone. I sense there are no more queries, so let me end the class now, and we will meet in next class with Customs Act. Thank you.